Good to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Explanation off the top. We've been in transition from the middle of the country to Washington, D.C., so I have been gone for a few days. You understand the move and all that kind of stuff. But we are here, and we're changing the time of the release of our podcast. It'll start every day at 3 p.m. And, of course, the News with Ed Schultz will be on RT America at 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So this is our new podcast and video casting schedule. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for being patient. We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, with the New Hampshire primary taking place, I was up in New Hampshire yesterday. A couple of things we need to keep in perspective in totality. Bernie Sanders was 30 points behind when he started. He is now, according to the latest MUR poll in New Hampshire, 26 points ahead. And there's a lot of people that are thinking, well, gosh, Bernie's next door from Vermont. I don't buy that. I believe it's message. I believe it's breaking up the big banks. I believe it is his view of taxation and not afraid to tell you that your taxes are going to go up, but we're going to get universal health care in this country, and we're not going to have the insurance industry run the United States Congress. I mean, that's his mission. And the other campaign has been just beating Bernie Sanders up as of late, saying that these things can't get done. Bernie gave an awesome speech yesterday in Manchester, New Hampshire, where I was, and talked to people on the ground. He talked about, well, that's the attitude they had before civil rights. That's the attitude we had with the social changes in this country with the gay marriage issue. I mean, if you're going to accept the fact that there can't be generational changes, and if we can't move in a direction to achieve something, then why are we in this? So this is a huge night, I believe, coming up for the Democrats, because they are on focus. They just want to get there in different ways. For more, let's turn to Bob Shrum. He is a Democratic strategist. He'll join us when we come back. He's been through these wars before. He ran the John Kerry campaign in 2004. He knows a lot about New Hampshire, but it is interesting. Hillary Clinton won it in 2008. Well, the vote is totally different now. Not totally, but 30% of the people that are going to be voting today in New Hampshire were not involved in the process in 2008. And also considering where Sanders was and where he is now, it is going to be a victory that Hillary Clinton is clearly going to have to earn, and it's going to be one that might propel Bernie Sanders to better national numbers where he can be competitive in Nevada and South Carolina, and that, of course, is the next pivot. On the 20th of February, it's Nevada. 27th, it's going to be South Carolina. When we come back, Bob Shrum joins us. This Ed Schultz News and Production. News and Commentary is brought to you by Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSafe team. We're back after this. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
Back on Ed Schultz News and Commentary on primary day in New Hampshire. 0.2% separated the Democrats. And, of course, on the Republican side, Trump didn't get it done in Iowa. It was Ted Cruz. Cruz polling now third in New Hampshire. So for the Republicans, I think that there's no doubt that this is going to be a breakout moment for someone other than Trump. Who is going to be the eventual rivalry of Trump? I think we might find out tonight. And on the Democratic side, is this number, percentage, leading with Bernie Sanders going to hold, or is Hillary Clinton going to really be able to chip away at it and maybe make a run at it? For more on that, let's go to Bob Shrum, Democratic strategist, professor at USC. Bob, good to have you with us.
Happy to be here, Ed.
You have been down these wars many times before. What is unique from your memory and from what you can see right now? What's unique about New Hampshire?
Trump is unique. There hasn't been a presence like that in a long time. I mean, even Pat Buchanan had closer ties to the political establishment than Trump does, so he's unique. I think Sanders is unique because although we've had other insurgent candidates before, he's, when he announced Ed, most people, you were not one of them, but most people gave him no chance at all. I mean, just wrote him off. The pundits were almost to a person wrong in their estimates of him. So we have a very different kind of field than we've had in other New Hampshire primaries. And I think we're going to see a record turnout in both parties.
Record turnout in both parties. And why do you think that is? What is causing it? Is it the advertising? Is it the frustration on both sides? Is it what Sanders and Trump have done to both parties? What do you think?
Frustration, income inequality on the Democratic side, on the Republican side, that, plus something you and I have talked about before, which is the discomfort of a lot of Republicans and conservatives with the changing nature of the country, the fact that it's becoming a majority non-white, its multicultural character, even for some of them, the fact that there's an African-American president. So I think you've got all of that on the Republican side. You've got the real economic concerns on the Democratic side.
The economic concerns on the Democratic side are jobs, the economy, no question about it. But the way Bernie Sanders has gotten there has been saying he's going to break up the big banks, he's going to advocate for universal health care, he wants to get rid of Citizens United. And that seems to be trumpeting the label of being a socialist. The numbers for people under 40 years old, and I sensed this on the ground in a big way yesterday when I was there in Manchester, New Hampshire, that the labels don't match the people that are following Bernie. What do you make of that?
Well, the labels don't matter at all. This label doesn't matter at all in the Democratic primary. If Bernie is the nominee, the Republicans would try to use that label to demonize him. It would be very interesting to see what effect that would have, whether they're playing the politics of 30 and 40 years ago or whether it would have a big effect now. But I think for Democrats, and especially younger Democrats, it's just a word. It doesn't mean anything. Bernie Sanders isn't trying to nationalize industry, have the government run the railroads, the airlines, basic manufacturing, the auto industry. That's not what he's talking about. And that's why he, I think, carefully keeps saying he's a democratic socialist.
What do you make of President Clinton going after Sanders? Is this the last 5-minute muddy-up job, or what is this?
Well, I think the Clinton campaign is obviously in some distress about the state of the race.
And she said, Bob, that they will take stock after this primary, hinting that there may be some changes in the campaign.
Yeah, I think that, and that story was leaked out yesterday. I think it would be the wrong decision at the wrong time, leaked in the wrong way, and they'd probably be better off, the two of them, looking in the mirror. Because, as David Axelrod said, these problems occurred 8 years ago. So it's not the staff, it's not the people who work there, and it's certainly not someone like Joel Benenson, who is incredibly capable. And I think blaming him would be an outrage, and would be an indication that the campaign was not in a very steady place. Her problem is, in my view, is that realism is not a rallying cry. She needs a vision. She needs to translate into human terms what her presidency would mean for people.
Well, Bob, here's how it's coming off in the progressive community. It's being received. This isn't my commentary. This is what I heard on the ground, and this is what I heard from Congressman Keith Ellison. Granted, he is supporting Sanders. But the point that these folks are making is that we have a progressive candidate in Hillary Clinton who has a long history of fighting the battles. But she's actually making the case that we can't get to universal health care. That's how it's being perceived. Now, whether she believes that or not, I don't know, but that's the way it's being received. And then you have Bill Clinton out there saying that Bernie doesn't know how to pay for it and it doesn't match up. What do you make of all that?
Well, first of all, she's right at one level. I think it would be very difficult in the short term, even if Bernie Sanders were elected president, to pass universal health care single payer. But that doesn't mean you don't set the aspirational goal. I mean, JFK ran for Medicare in 1960, didn't get passed until 1965, and actually had to go through that 64 election and the Johnson landslide to get it. So but it's not, you don't inspire voters by saying, Don't reach higher. Don't look beyond the horizon. Don't dare to think about what we might be able to do. And that's why I think she needs a campaign theme. The slogan is fighting for us. And so what I think they need to do is tell us what's going to happen for us, for voters, in their lives if she's president, other than just the continuation of the Obama policies, which I would like to see, and I think you would like to see. But we'll see tonight how big Sanders' margin is. Their aim has been to narrow the margin. I think that what President Clinton did, what Gloria Steinem did, what Madeleine Albright did, the attacks on Sanders that are coming from some of Clinton's allies, I think they're a sign that the campaign is worried. But I think instead of going after him, they ought to re-examine what they're doing, and Clinton's right about that, not going after people who work for them, but actually saying, why isn't she out there with a message that compels more people to her side?
Bob Shrum, Democratic Strategist, Professor.
I want to do one other thing, if you don't mind.
Sure,
okay?
Absolutely.
I'm going to give you my surprise pick for what's going to happen today, because these things, election days, are like re-entering in the space capsule.
Sure.
You don't really know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Jeb Bush is going to come second, Marco Rubio is going to fade away, and Bush is ultimately going to become the sort of mainstream, although it's not very mainstream, Republican choice against Trump and Cruz.
Interesting pick. Boy, he's been bringing it from the loins, so to speak. He's been pleading with people to support him. I did sense a pretty good presence and ground game for Jeb Bush yesterday in Manchester anyway. He had a number of buses running around. What about Rubio, though, before I let you go here? Rubio third in Iowa, polling number 2 right now in New Hampshire. What if he is number 2? Would he be the candidate that the anti-Trumps would coalesce around?
Well, they would try to. I still think he would bear a heavy burden from that debate. But most of the polling that has him at number 2 or number 3 was taken before, or certainly was not completed before he had that. Or was mostly completed before he had that disastrous debate performance. I think there's a chance, and if I'm wrong, you can get me on the show and I'll say I was wrong. I think there's a chance that that's going to go down in history, like with the Benson Quayle moment, as a really defining moment that did enormous damage.
Well, he just couldn't find a different angle, and he went to it 4 times.
Well, he panicked.
Yeah.
And people don't, under pressure, and that's not a very good recommendation for being president of the United States. Either panicked or he's an empty suit.
So you think it's Trump and then Bush?
That's what I think.
Okay. Bob Shrum, always great to visit. We'll circle back with you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Professor at USC, Democratic strategist, ran, of course, the John Kerry campaign in 2004. Commentary when we come back. Stay with us. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit. AMPR. Welcome back to Ed Schultz News and Commentary, brought to you by Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team. There's no doubt that Manchester, New Hampshire, is where Hillary Clinton has to score very well. And she has brought some very credible, but generationally yesteryear people out in her favor. Gloria Steinem, elderly woman from yesteryear, doesn't speak to this generation. We'll address that tonight on RT America with the news on Ed Schultz. Okay. Madeleine Albright, again. The 20 and 30-somethings have to dig hard to find out just how credible she is. And then Bill Clinton. I don't know how much influence Bill Clinton has on younger voters. And if you look at the numbers in Iowa, the numbers in New Hampshire when it comes to the younger demographic are very, very similar. It all unfolds tonight. We'll have coverage tonight on RT America. You can catch it at RT.com, the news with Ed Schultz. This is Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you this production from Washington, D.C. We're back tomorrow.